Nothing. Sometimes I make fucking pro plays, and also sometimes I make... What is the stars there? Effin? Silver plays. I'm basically inconsistent in hell. What should I do? Well, inconsistency means 1,000 things. That's why I hate that term. Consistency only comes when you deserve it, when you're one of the best players in the game, or one of the top players in the game. So you can't expect consistency unless you're playing at the same level all the time. And if you're not consistent at that level, then that's just you needing to spend more time learning about that level of play. There's so many factors, though, that can go into it, whether you're shooting wrong, or maybe you're, maybe you're just playing different spots every time, or playing by yourself. Solo queuing is not very productive to consistency. Like, the only time you could really expect to be consistent is when you play with a team, right? Because then you have a role or some kind of like way, rhyme or rhythm of what you do on each map. When you're playing SEA or Matchmake or Pugs, you're kind of just hoping to be consistent. I almost think it takes more skill to be consistent in Matchmake or ESEA than it does to take skill than it does on like a team. Because on a team, you have structure and you know what to expect more, and it's easier to guess what the opponents on the other team are doing. Because people play with more logic. It's like in economics, like you could try to break down in economics why a certain market and certain people are going to buy a certain product, right? But when you go to like a farmer's market or a black market in China, you don't really know what people want at what price or whatever, because you're just selling indifferent products with a bunch of random variables. So how can you be a consistent seller in a market where you don't have that much information and data, right? So when you're playing matchmaking in ESEA Pugs, it's just like playing in one of those black markets in a weird way of an analogy. How do you have any consistent information to go off of and to work off of when you're playing against people who have no logic base for the decisions they're making? When you're playing with a team, you're able to read people better because they're trying to do something that makes sense or has intention behind it. So if you're playing against people with no intention, or their intentions are selfish, it's a weird thing to try to control. That's why I say sometimes it's almost harder to be consistently getting 20 kills in a shitty ESEA, because unless you really have a certain skill set around you. Normally the people who do well in ESEA Pugs are more type entry fragger, faster players with better aim, more of the star type mindset where they're just trying to get a lot of kills, and they might die a lot. So that's why I feel like I do well in ESEA. I run around and get a lot of kills. Hiko can do well in ESEA because he plays passive, but he plays really smart and tries hard. But some of my past teammates that are invite level players who try to play well in Pugs, they just don't play well because they're slower players. They don't have as much finesse, maybe. It doesn't mean they're not an invite level player, but they don't have as much finesse, right? So they don't move maybe as quickly, and they're used to making more meticulous plays with their teammates. So they play in these ESEA guys, and all some guy just runs around the corner when they should be waiting here, and the guy just goes around the corner and just fucking headshots him. Well, sometimes you're going to just lose. And then that player who kills my invite level player gets bitter. Oh, why am I not playing at an invite level player? Look how good my aim is. Look how many frags I can get. I deserve a chance at an invite level team. Well, no, you don't. Because the only reason people are on an invite level is because, one, obviously, you don't ask to get on an invite level. If you beg to play at a higher level, you're not going to get a chance. But secondly, and more importantly, to get that chance, it takes experience and decision-making knowledge to be able to tell your teammates what you're doing and follow through with it with some kind of poise, right? So if you're just like running around and you're like, oh fuck, headshot, 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 well, it doesn't make you a pro. It just makes you someone that has good dexterity with their hands. So. Professor, nothing. I haven't even read these comments. And I completely agree now. Please convince your points in the card. Well, no one needs to be convinced. The thing you got to do is let go of people who don't agree, because people who suck or who make dumb plays eventually are going to get weeded out. Those players might make it to a semi-pro level because they have insane aim, but it doesn't mean they're going to go pro. Because I guarantee you, most top teams in our country, like us and I by power, we're never just going to see some guy in an ESEA Pug dropping 30s and be like, wow, we should give that guy a chance. No, we want to play against him first. Maybe he joins like a semi-pro team, ESEA invite. Maybe he plays on a Reliable Gaming or a Lunatic or a team like that, and then shows, okay, he's got some skill. Then we play him at LAN, shows us more skill. Then we meet him and talk to him, shows that he has a level head and he's a good person who could be on a team you can rely on. And then, only then, at that point, do you think, maybe, okay, we're going to give this guy a chance. He's kind of went through the trials, you know? So you don't really need to convince anyone. You just go about your business. You know, people who don't follow the mindset, or you're your standards of play. You just disregard them. I mean, obviously you want to make friends when you play this game, but if they're friends that suck or friends that are just follow a newbie mindset, or oh, we're just going to try to play with our friends our whole life, well, playing with your friends only gets you so far. Playing with people that are better than you is really where you get better. I mean, I tried my first couple teams. I really tried to make it work with my friends, and I stayed friends with a lot of those guys to this day. But some of them moved up with me in the ranks, and some of them didn't. And if I stayed at that level all day, I probably would have been an open, intermediate, main player my whole career. But I luckily was fortunate enough to be in an area where there was LAN tournaments and stuff in Southern California, where I grew up in San Diego. And I also had a very supportive mom who would drive me to these LAN tournaments, and I would get some recognition, and I would get a repertoire with these other pro players because they saw me as a young kid trying hard, not talking shit, focusing up. When people shit talked to me, I didn't say anything back. I still just kept trying hard, and eventually it shined through that I was a good player who was mature enough to be on a top team. Exactly, this is what Shroud had to do to join. Yeah, for Shroud to join our team, we had to meet him and see that his personality wasn't just some nutty kid with like sick aim who just runs around and takes the game for granted and takes individual plays for granted, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go make individual plays. No, the reason we picked up Shroud is because we saw that he cares more about what we think as a team than what the general public thinks, and he's able to come and like play in our system and sacrifice some of his personal abilities to make sure he gets done what he needs to for our strats and whatnot. War Hippo, Jordan.